To better understand whether money is the root of all evil, let's listen to a true story, passed down through generations, about a woman named Hua from Thon Ton He village. Nestled at the foot of a mountain, Thon Ton He was a barren land where people lived off meager fields, wild vegetables, and their own sweat. Amidst this pervasive poverty, everyone spoke of Mrs. Hua, a kind and compassionate woman. Widowed early, she single-handedly raised her son, Tan, by selling baked goods, carrying water for hire, and working as a farmhand. People were accustomed to seeing her stooped figure under the sun, her prematurely gray hair, and her sorrowful eyes. Yet her heart was always open. Despite her poverty, she never complained, and often helped her neighbors in times of need. She would share her last bowl of rice with the sick and readily assist at funerals, regardless of her familiarity with the deceased. The entire village cherished Mrs. Hua. Old Mr. Liu, the village elder, once said, "Poor, but with a heart like Mrs. Hua's, she is richer than those who own hundreds of acres." Every day, Mrs. Hua woke before dawn to bake and sell her goods at the market, saving every penny to support her son's education. Despite their hardship, she always gave the best portions to Tan, quietly lighting a lamp and cooking black bean tea for him when he studied late into the night. Thanks to her sacrifices, Tan grew into a well-behaved and bright young man, praised by the village for his good upbringing. When Mrs. Du, a neighbor, fell ill, Mrs. Hua skipped the market to care for her, preparing medicine, washing clothes, and even taking Mrs. Du's children to school. The entire village remembered her kindness. After years of saving, she sent Tan to the district to study with a scholar. She ate wild vegetables, mended old clothes, and endured hunger so that her son could succeed. Heaven rewarded her maternal love. Tan passed the imperial examinations and was summoned to the capital for an official appointment. The day she sent him off, she simply said, "I only wish for him to maintain his integrity, to not betray others, and to not betray heaven." Everyone believed Mrs. Hua would enjoy blessings, a filial son, a virtuous mother. But no one could have foreseen how this gentle mother, respected by the entire village, would shock everyone when her mask unexpectedly fell. After Tan achieved official status and was appointed district magistrate, the first person he brought to his mansion was his mother. The magistrate's mansion was spacious, with high walls, a gated entrance, and numerous servants. The day Mrs. Hua arrived, the villagers escorted her to the edge of the village, tears of joy in their eyes. Someone like Mrs. Hua, finally able to enjoy comfort in her old age, it was truly deserved. And initially, Mrs. Hua didn't disappoint. She didn't dress extravagantly, boast, or show off. In the early days, she remained quiet and reserved, spending her time embroidering or reading Buddhist scriptures. The servants initially respected her, treating her like the benevolent mother of the household. Until one day, an old neighbor, Mrs. Du, came to the mansion. Mrs. Du was struggling. Her husband had died early, leaving her with young children. Everyone in the village knew the two women had once been close. Years ago, it was Mrs. Hua who had helped Mrs. Du with medicine and food when she was bedridden. Trusting Mrs. Hua, Mrs. Du brought a small gift and a heartfelt request. "I have a daughter, Lian, just 20 years old, obedient and hardworking. If you have pity, please allow her to work in the mansion to earn some money and avoid having to marry young and suffer." Mrs. Hua looked at Lian for a long moment, her eyes unblinking, a flicker of something appearing and disappearing in their depths. She nodded slightly. "A well-behaved girl from a respectable family. I couldn't refuse. Let her stay." So Lian became a servant in the magistrate's mansion. But from that day forward, the young girl's life began to spiral into an abyss. Unlike the other servants, Lian was assigned to personally serve Mrs. Hua, not with cooking or cleaning, but attending to her every need, every meal, every moment. Each morning, Lian had to wake before dawn to boil water and comb Mrs. Hua's hair. During meals, she had to kneel beside her, feeding her each spoonful of porridge, each slice of fruit. At night, Mrs. Hua forced Lian to sit at the foot of her bed as a footrest, forbidden to move. Once, simply because the soup was cold, Mrs. Hua threw the entire bowl in Lian's face, casually remarking, "Such a small mouth, yet so useless." Lian wept secretly, pleading to be transferred to other duties, but her requests were denied. No one dared to intervene. Mrs. Hua was the magistrate's mother. A single cold glance from her was enough to terrify the servants. Several times, the household staff overheard Mrs. Hua muttering to herself while looking at Lian. That face, just like that harlot who laughed at me years ago." No one understood, but a chill ran down their spines. Then, one day, Lian ran away. She couldn't endure it any longer. But before she could leave the district, she was captured by the mansion's guards. It was then that Mrs. Hua truly showed her hand. She accused Lian of stealing a precious jade bracelet from her room and called the authorities. She wept dramatically, calling Lian ungrateful and treacherous, then turned to her son, choking back sobs. "I treated her like my own grandchild, and yet she betrayed me, Tan. You cannot let someone like this live in our house." Tan believed his mother. He was an upright man, but his filial piety blinded him. For the sake of family honor, to protect his mother, he signed the death warrant, adding a note, "Punish her as an example." The day Lian was led away, she didn't cry or scream. She simply looked back at Mrs. Hua one last time, her clear eyes as sharp as knives piercing the darkness. After Lian's death, the mansion continued to function, but the atmosphere had completely changed. The gentle laughter in the kitchen was gone, as was the sight of servants daring to raise their heads. Mrs. Hua, once a quiet woman, now revealed her true form as a venomous queen in her own kingdom. No longer maintaining a facade of piety or compassion, she lived like an aging empress, adorned with power and delusion. Every day, she chose 3 young male servants, fair-skinned, rosy-lipped, and well-built, to attend to her. One lay at her feet as a footrest, another fed her ripe purple grapes, and the third fanned her gently. Their entire existence revolved around her, anticipating her every breath, her every glance. A sigh at the wrong moment, a grape offered too slowly, and they were immediately dragged out and beaten black and blue. The servants grew increasingly terrified of Mrs. Hua, but they didn't dare to resist or leave. Leaving the mansion in silence would be tantamount to being accused of rebellion. Only one person, a girl named Mai, wasn't afraid. She arrived after Lian's death and was assigned to kitchen duties and occasionally cleaning Mrs. Hua's private quarters. Mai wasn't conventionally beautiful, but her eyes always gleamed like a cobra's, her voice sweet yet as hard as steel. Mrs. Hua disliked Mai, despite her respectful demeanor. Her straight posture and unwavering gaze irritated her. Once, when Mrs. Hua asked Mai to bring water to her room, Mai accidentally spilled some on the floor. Mrs. Hua, without a word, had her tied to a pillar under the midday sun for an entire afternoon, then forced her to kneel for 3 watches in the main hall in front of all the servants. From that day forward, Mai didn't speak or react. She continued her work as usual, smiling when spoken to, always polite and respectful. But something had changed in her eyes. A dark fire smoldered, not fiercely, but persistently. A few weeks later, Mrs. Hua fell ill. It began with fatigue, then loss of appetite, rapid weight loss, and a grayish complexion. The physician, after a long examination, shook his head. "Madam isn't sick, but her vital energy is depleted, possibly due to prolonged resentment." But the illness worsened. Sores appeared in her mouth, she vomited black blood, and her body became cold as ice. The servants, who had once nestled at her feet and fed her grapes, asked to leave. No one dared to go near her room anymore. Rumors spread that she was haunted by Lian's vengeful spirit. Mai continued to quietly enter her room, bringing medicine, wiping her body, and preparing porridge. Each time Mrs. Hua vomited, Mai gently helped her up, wiped her mouth with a warm cloth, and smiled faintly. "It's all right, madam. You'll recover soon," she whispered, placing her hand on Mrs. Hua's back and patting gently. Mrs. Hua didn't know that every bowl of porridge, every spoonful of medicine she swallowed, contained a paralyzing agent, a slow-acting poison made from plantain root and a decoction of berries. Odorless and tasteless, but when it took effect, it would rot her internal organs from within. When Tan returned from the capital, he found the mansion cold as a tomb. The servants were silent, none daring to look at him. His mother lay in her large room, her face ashen, her mouth open, as if trying to call out but unable to. Her hand clutched a shriveled raisin, her fingernails black. Tan was devastated. He investigated but found nothing. Mai had left the mansion a day earlier, leaving behind an empty room and a small unmarked jar containing something resembling honey. The day Mrs. Hua was buried, it rained heavily. No one attended her funeral. Her grave was unmarked, only wet earth and leaning grass. The villagers still tell this story as a reminder. When someone plays the role of a good person for too long, they can forget who they truly are. But money and power eventually reveal the true face. And once the fire of hatred ignites, even heaven isn't big enough for those who sow evil. Mrs. Hua's story is a profound and haunting tragedy. Her kindness, admired by the entire village, was merely a mask. She had once been a symbol of virtue in a poor village, a woman who single-handedly raised her son with calloused hands, a bent back, and a generous heart. But after all those years of sacrifice and endurance, when she finally held power and respect in a grand mansion, she lost herself. It wasn't just a change, but a metamorphosis. When her son became an official, she entered the mansion as an exemplary mother, praised by all. But soon, her true nature emerged. The woman who had selflessly helped her neighbors in times of need became the tormentor of a vulnerable girl, leading to her unjust death. She transformed the mansion into a gloomy kingdom where laughter was extinguished, where everyone bowed their heads and all eyes avoided hers as if avoiding an irresistible force. Her cruelty didn't stem from money, but from something deeper, a past and buried trauma. The harlot's face, she muttered while looking at Lien, revealed a wound she had never forgotten. Perhaps a betrayed love, a forgotten pain, or a trampled memory had long fueled a fire of hatred within her. But in her poverty, she had no means to express it. Only with status, power, and money could she begin her slow and venomous revenge on life. So, is money the root of all evil? Not necessarily. Money and power, in themselves, have no soul, no sense of right or wrong. They are merely tools. But in the hands of those who harbor darkness within, those who have never truly faced themselves, they can become a mirror, magnifying evil. For good people, money helps them spread kindness. For those who haven't healed, money only helps them create more beautiful, yet more toxic masks. Mrs. Hua wasn't inherently evil, but she was never healed. And, when given the opportunity, she became what she had once endured, a heartless authority figure willing to destroy the weak to soothe herself. It's the tragedy of a woman who once lived well, once loved, but couldn't overcome her own past. Her death, lonely and unattended, with no marker or name, wasn't the death of a person, but the end of a soul lost to itself. The final words left on a small piece of paper by Mai, the only girl who dared to look her in the eye, served as a chilling verdict. Not everyone is born to kneel. Not everyone dies leaving nothing behind. This story is still told as a cautionary tale. One can pretend to be good for a lifetime, but they can't hide their true nature forever if they don't know how to forgive others and themselves. Power doesn't corrupt people, but it reveals the truth within. And money, though not the root of all evil, is the torch that most clearly illuminates the hidden corners we dare not face. Because when the fire of hatred ignites, even heaven isn't big enough for those who sow evil.